So, hey y'all. So today I'm going to be talking about clutter and brain fog. This topic is so juicy because we all experience it, different levels. And we're going to be talking about how our home clutter, impacts our brain fog and all the ways it shows up. So I'm really excited about this. Um, I'm really excited about this topic because it could be a little gut wrenching because we try to ignore things and bury things, but we're not going to do that today. So I'm excited. All right, so one of the things when it comes to brain fog and mental clutter is we sometimes are even too overwhelmed to even face our clutter, and sometimes, often, in your home, if you may feel like trapped and you may feel, mentally cluttered, and that brain fog really may take over you, and you may feel claustrophobic actually. And so, um, you may go through your day to day just feeling like mentally cluttered, and you may have pockets of reprieve where you do feel peace of mind, but for the most part, you're just feeling you're feeling kind of stuck and trapped, and your home exacerbates those emotions, those feelings of anxiety, the brain fog, the what you're experiencing in your home doesn't help these things. And so it's almost like you want to escape your mind, your body, your home. You want to get a vacation from your life, really. And that's just kind of like what happens with like mental clutter and brain fog. And even trying to get good sleep feels like absolutely impossible because your home makes it further challenging to relax, to get any peace of mind, and your brain is always going. Your brain fog doesn't allow you to rest and relax, and so I um, I want to talk a couple points of how this shows up, and the ways, what things that we do to ignore it, um, and just kind of survival tactics that we have when it comes to um, working through our brain fog and our mental clutter. And even thinking about just like your day-to-day life, like everything you do is a struggle. So whether it's getting dressed in the morning, cooking, picking out clothes, getting ready in your bathroom, it just seems like every single thing that you do is a task because of your brain fog, because of the clutter that you're experiencing. And your home is a reflection of your mind. Your home is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. And so it can be really challenging and almost shameful to address that or admit that and acknowledge it. And often the overwhelm and anxiety, it's hard. Like, what do I do now? Like, seeing, knowing, acknowledging that my home is a reflection of inside. Now what? Because I think there's a lot of shame when it comes to that, because we have certain standards of what our home is supposed to look like. Sometimes we compare our homes, and so when we look at our homes and we say like, I know this is a reflection of me, and sometimes it's hard to work through that, and often we don't work through it at all. And so putting your home in order can ultimately eliminate the clutter in your mind. It could ultimately eliminate the fog, the brain fog you're having. So we're gonna talk about a couple other points of how this shows up. So for the people that just joined, the topic is how how clutter um, creates brain fog, specifically clutter in your home. And so I'm just talking about three different ways how that shows up, two ways how that shows up, and one way of how we can combat it. All right. So the first point is, and this point is the first one because we all do it. Excuse me. So something that a lot of people do is they ignore the state of their home, um, in so many different ways. You just ignore it. Like, you completely ignore it. And so there's so many ways that people ignore the state of their home. So one of the ways, maybe you walk by the clutter in your home, maybe you don't look at it, right? Maybe you cover it up. Maybe you pretend it doesn't bother you. Oh my God, this one I think is the most hurtful because I feel like as humans, we feel things bother us, and we are so good at convincing ourselves and trying to convince others that things don't bother us. So a lot of times when people are not satisfied or happy with the state of their home, they pretend it doesn't bother them. They say, "Oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's fine." And again, I'm not in my ministry is not telling someone there's something wrong with their home, right? If it works for you, it works for you, right? Like I am not in the position to walk into people's home and tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing. However, knowing the way how my clients' brains work and studying organization and studying clutter and the psychology of home organization, a lot of us pretend that the clutter in our home just simply doesn't bother us. I've seen it so many times, and it's really disheartening because I understand what that feels like to say, to act like something doesn't bother you, because that it still it oozes out in other ways. So for the people that have just joined in, hello, hello. We're talking about how clutter impacts your brain and creates brain fog, and I'm giving a couple points on how that shows up, and one way I'm going to give one way how we can combat that. So the first point I'm mentioning is how we ignore our clutter. All the ways that we ignore our clutter. So whether that is you walk by it, you walk by the clutter in your home, you don't look at it, you cover it up, you pretend it doesn't bother you. That's a good one. And so what happens is we think that by ignoring our clutter in these ways is that even though it irks you, you know what you're ignoring, not looking at, not addressing, walking by, covering up. You know that it irks you. That's exactly why you ignore it. But it's still something that you do. You still are committed to ignoring your clutter. And so this can also show up. Ignoring your clutter can also show up as doing a half-assed job when you're trying to organize. This, oh my goodness. So often I know a lot of people try to organize their space. They try to organize their home. Whatever method you do, often people may do a half-assed job as a way to not really address the clutter. And I'll give you like an example. I love giving examples when it comes to like interpersonal relationship examples because it's easier to, you know, connect the dots of what I'm trying to say with home organization. So imagine you have an issue with a friend and you're mad at your friend, but you actually don't talk to your friend about what you're upset about, but you kind of continue the relationship. They don't know what you're upset about. You don't communicate, and you just kind of continue the relationship as is. And maybe you mention it, maybe you say something passive aggressively, but what this does is you're doing a half-assed job at communicating your pain, your hurt. Hi Victoria, and that is not productive. It's counterproductive, and it's not actually getting you, you know, the results that you want. So when you do a half-assed job at ignoring the clutter in your home, or when you do a half-assed job at trying to organize, this is also a way that we try to ignore our clutter, trying to do it halfway. And that I've probably seen that when it comes. So first, it's pretending your clutter in your home doesn't bother you, and then right after that is just not doing a thorough, complete job of organizing. Those two. Have y'all ever tried to organize your space or organize something in your home, and you find maybe a few months, a few weeks, it's back to normal? I've seen it. I've experienced it. I get DMs all the time about it. This is what it looks like to do a half-assed job, and this is also a way of how we ignore it by not being thorough. All right, and so a lot of times is people also downplay their clutter. Oh my God! So I see this all the time. So one way that people may downplay their clutter, so maybe you compare yourself to folks you see on the show Hoarders, right? So you'll say, oh, my home is not that bad, right? So I don't have to address it. Or you'll say, my home is that bad, so I can't possibly address it. Either way, both comparisons, there's no action being taken. Either way, both comparisons, you're downplaying your clutter. You're not fully addressing what is going on in your home from the place that your home is in. Hello, hello. So for the people that just joined us, hi Wit and Asha. I'm talking about how clutter impact gives us brain fog, and how that shows up in our home, and in the actions. Hello, hello, and I'm giving a couple points on that, and then I'm gonna give a last point on how we can combat that. All right, so let's see, where was I? So a lot of times too, maybe ignoring your clutter looks like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and I'm not going to hire someone else to do it because I can't afford it, or it's too much. And a lot of times is people give 1,001 excuses to not, and a reason and an excuse is two different things. But the excuse will be, oh, it's too much. And then a lot of people don't actually do the research of looking for a professional organizer, so they don't even know the prices or the quotes of professional organizers. They just say, oh, it's too much, without actually doing the research. And so that's another way that we ignore our clutter, is we just say, oh, we make decisions about what the price is, working with someone that can actually help, us, or you don't actually do research about the price. And so what happens is you just create a story in your mind that you're able to go to and say like, oh, I can't address it because it's too much. And it's just like, well, have you looked up quotes? And so a lot of people do that as well. And so I think when people have a space and they're overwhelmed with their space, it's really difficult to address it while doing research, while also addressing all of the mental things that come with looking at your space. That creates so much brain fog because there's just so many things to address, right? And so one thing that people do is they don't have people over their houses. So maybe you don't invite people over, or maybe you pretend that you don't want people in your home. This is an excellent way to kind of ignore your clutter, not address it, because you're not, you don't have, there aren't people in your house that, and if you do have people in your home, you strategically, keep them from not going in those rooms, going in those spaces, or you just don't invite people over. And so these are all different ways that we ignore our clutter. And so please give me some hearts. Tell me if y'all resonate with that, because I know that ignoring your clutter shows up in so many different ways. So many different ways. And so those are a few ways that I've noticed with my clients, and I've just observed just in my own research. And so just the last point of ignoring, just the point I want to drive home is that a lot of people alleviate themselves of being accountable for the clutter in their home, or the frustrations that they're experiencing. They alleviate themselves of being accountable for addressing their problems by comparing themselves to maybe a Pinterest photo of an organized home, or folks they see on the show Hoarders. And they do this to say like, oh, my space is not that bad, I don't have a problem, right? Or to say, my space is that bad, I can't possibly address it. Or to say, oh, the home that I see is way too perfect, I can never get my home like that, so let's not address it. So a lot of people, you're just alleviating yourself of taking accountability for addressing something that is causing you pain. And this is the clutter that you're ignoring and not facing, and you're not taking accountability for taking action. And so a lot of times is these excuses, and I hate the word excuses, but sometimes it's just like, baby, this is what it boils down to, okay? And I think sometimes you gotta tiptoe and be like, oh, you be compassionate about people's reasoning and justification. But after a while, it's like, baby, you making excuses, okay? And when for me, I want people to experience peace, um, serenity in their homes. You don't. There's so many people that are suffering in their own homes, and for me, it's just like, oh no, baby, it don't gotta be like that. And so at some point, it's like, all right, you making excuses. I can't allow you to make excuses like anymore because you're feeling pain and you don't have to. And so again, just driving home the point, ignoring your clutter, comparing yourself gives you the opportunity and the permission to not act and not take accountability for, you know, addressing the problem in your space. All right, so that's that point. So the next point is the problems that you're experiencing in your home, whether you ignore it or not, no matter what level you are at ignoring them, it impacts you. And I think a lot of times people may excuse me, may hope and wish that if they ignore the clutter that it won't affect them, or it's not affecting them if they ignore it. And so this is the furthest thing from the truth. So first of all, our subconscious doesn't know the difference. If something's impacting your heart, your spirit, your mind, it's going to show up in your life no matter what, whether you consciously or subconsciously know. So that your subconscious does not know the difference, right? So even though you may not see your clutter, or you pretend it's not bothering you, or you ignore it, right? That doesn't mean that the impact of your clutter isn't affecting you, and it's not showing up in ways that are not productive to your life, and that doesn't mean it's not showing up in ways that are harmful to your mental health, because a cluttered home is a mental health issue. Ooh, y'all, a cluttered home is a mental health issue. I'm sorry to yell. I get really passionate about clutter and home because it's directly connected to how we feel about ourselves and how we go into the world. And so it's all, your home is your health. Period. Your home is your health. It's the same thing. Just like you go to therapy for your mental, therapy is mental exercise. You go to the gym or exercise for your physical. Your home is also a part of your mental wellness. All right? So that's that. I see y'all felt that. I know I felt that too. I felt that too. Y'all can't hype me because I'm really dramatic. um, so even though you think that something doesn't bother you when it pertains to your home clutter, or you want to convince yourself it doesn't bother you, it still bothers you. And something that I believe, and I don't know if this is an American issue or a black issue. I do feel like it's a human issue, and then there's different levels, based on ethnicity and culture and nationality. But we really think that we're not as impressionable as we are, and it really is. And I think it's a way. I think we've definitely become more desensitized, with technology. But we actually think that, we don't like to admit that we're human and things impact us and things affect us, and I feel like sometimes we think like we're like forces of steel, and you may be. I'm not trying to convince anybody that they're feeling something that they're not, but I think that a lot of us are convinced, or we're afraid to admit that we're not that we're more impressionable as we are. And it's like it's okay for things to impact you and hurt you and to feel pain, and and I think a lot of times when it comes to our environment, right? Like, we know a work environment, a toxic work environment stresses you out. You know this for a fact. But yet when it comes to the home environment, we act like we're not sensitive to our home environment. And I just get confused. I'm like, what's the difference? You know that you may not want to be around certain people because you're sensitive to their energy, but for some reason when it comes to your home, you think that all of a sudden you're not sensitive to the way that your home is set up, the energy of your home, the feng shui, whatever you want to call it, like the way your home is set up, still it impacts you just as any other environment. It probably impacts you more. Baby, this is where you rest. This is where you eat in. This is where you commune. This is where you having sex. Like, baby, this is where you're the most vulnerable. So of course this environment impacts you. That's why I keep saying your home clutter, home organization is a mental health issue. It's a part of your health. It's a part of your health and your overall wellness. Okay. So I'm here to tell you with love. So for the people that joined, I'm talking about how clutter creates brain fog and different ways that, that brain fog shows up. And I'm also, giving different points on how we can combat that. So the point right now I'm saying is that, baby, we are sensitive. We are human. We're sensitive and we're human. And you are way more sensitive to your environment and to the things that are close to you because everything impacts you. You're the most vulnerable in your space. And so when you start thinking about how your space is situated, how you treat your space, how your space makes you feel, what's in your space, the energies that are exchanged in the items that you bring in your home, the people you bring in your home, what you don't take out of your home, memories. Y'all, we are sensitive to these things, period. We're sensitive to them and it impacts us. And we end up taking all of those sensitivities, all of those emotions out into the world, all right? So it impacts you. So you can ignore it all you want, but Rebecca's telling you it impacts you, all right? And another thing is the way we make decisions, the way we move into the world, the foundation is our home. And so you can think of home as, an ideology, a concept, a way of being. Home can be defined as many different things, right? And a lot of times when I talk about home, first I am talking about the physical space, the environment, the four walls that we sleep in, and I'm also talking about it from a psychological, metaphorical space as well. And so when it comes to our homes, we spend too much time in it for us to try to convince ourselves that it's not impacting us in the world. How my home looks, and I know a lot of people say the way that your home is a reflection of your internal, but guess what? The way that your home is also a reflection of the decisions that you make, the way that you move in the world, the way that you feel about yourself, the way when you leave this space, it's all who and what you are outside in the world is a reflection of your home as well, right? Who you are inside your home is also a reflection. So yes, we already know your physical space is a reflection of your mental, right? We know this, right? And it applies also to other things as well. So that's the last point. So you can try to ignore your clutter, but it's still showing up. It's still impacting you. And that's something that could be hard to swallow because, again, if you're experiencing brain fog, it's like, what do I do? How do I address this? But it's just like, let's at least just acknowledge it. Let's acknowledge it. Let's start there. All right? I'm really happy seems like you all are really resonating with this. And I'm also doubling on Facebook Live. So I really appreciate y'all because y'all really hyping me up. But I love this topic, and that's why I started. I love all the topics on home organization because I'm just bringing a lot of points that I feel are not brought up and a lot of points that impacted me growing up. And so, yes. Okay, so you learned Ed me today, sis. Thank you. Thank you, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Your room currently reflects your brain. Jen, I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing that. I understand. I feel you. I'm going to call you. All right. Okay. So my last point is no matter, this is good. I'm so excited to bring this last point because, maybe I snatched y'all a little up with this a bit. Yes, I will be saving the live, and I'll be posting clips and things like that. So I'll be saving it and posting it to my feed. Okay, this last point is I'm gonna leave y'all with some hope. Okay, there's hope. No matter the state of your home, excuse me, let me start over. Okay, no matter the state of your home, no matter what level your home, or what level you think your home is, no matter what it is, it's a redeemable stage. Your home is redeemable no matter what it looks like. Okay, I'm gonna just sit just for a moment so y'all could let that soak in. No matter the stage your home is in right now, it is redeemable. Your home is at a redeemable stage. I also want to mention this. So when we finish this live, I had posted. I want you to go to my feed. I posted a before and after a couple days ago, and someone reshared it and said that it still looked unorganized. And I thought this was such a good teaching moment, and I think it really ties back to the point of, whatever stage your home is in, it's a redeemable stage. And I think sometimes I don't go into people's homes thinking about my home. I don't go into people's homes thinking about what their home should or shouldn't look like. My job, right, is to say, this is where you are and this is where we're going to bring you. My job is to meet people where they are. And so everyone's homes look so different. And so the before and after I posted her before, the state of her room before, the transformation is where we got her after, for her space. And so it's definitely, it's interesting to think about, when different people's different perceptions of organization, right? And so for me, I'm going into people's homes. My job is to really meet you where you are and to take you to a place that works for you with my understanding and my expertise of organization, and teaching you teachable systems. And so I want you all to remember that, because often we compare ourselves and we compare our homes to different people, and we compare ourselves to what we see. And you can aspire, but you just have to remember people are at different stages, and someone's organized is important because of where they came from. All right, so that's a little digression. Digression. But back to my point of, leaving y'all with something. And for the people that just joined, I'm talking about how clutter, creates brain fog, and different ways that brain fog shows up, and different things that we do. And so I gave a couple points, but the last point that I am giving is, just a little hope. And that is the stage of your home, no matter the clutter in your home, it's at a redeemable stage. And so just like how we think we're not impressionable, just how we think that things may not impact us, or we may not want to admit that we're more sensitive to things and people as we actually are. If you think about your life 10 years ago, who you were, where you were, your goals, your mindset, your habits were so different. Who you were 10 years ago can't fuck with who you are right now. Hopefully, I'm assuming if you're following Organized for Love, that who you was 10 years ago can't even talk to who you are right now. But I say all that to say, at the time, at 10 years ago, you may not have been able to think, maybe conceptualize who you are today, right? So who you were 10 years ago and who you are today, there was a middle, and you may not have been able to think, oh, I'm going to get there. I know for me, 10 years ago, I didn't think, of course I thought big of myself, but I didn't know who I was, and I didn't think my life was going to be where or who I am today, right? I couldn't conceive that. I had to work towards it. It's the same thing with your home. Your home is a progression of where you were, and the transformation happens in the middle, right? Where you were to where you are, and then it's a growth, right? So it's not like it's not a black and white. It's not a 1 to 100. And I think sometimes we're in a microwave generation. We're looking for that drastic difference. And so the drastic difference when it comes to home clutter doesn't always happen like that, especially when you think about the stage that your home is in. And so one of my favorite quotes by our good sis Tracy Ellis Ross, um, she says, "The space between where I am and where I want to be is often the thing that frightens me the most." And I love this quote, and I bring this quote up because if you can't imagine your home any other way, right? You can't think about it any other way because it probably has been like that for so long. It's probably been your home, the state of your home right now has probably been like that for so long, you can't think of it any other way. And so I want you to listen to me and listen to me real good. All right? When I say that it's possible to come home and feel alleviated. It's possible to be welcomed by your home with peace. It is possible to want to cook in your kitchen and enjoy cooking in your kitchen. Like, it's all possible. It's impossible to invite people over, to want to invite people over, and be able to feel confident and comfortable because you're not self-conscious about your space and you're able to just enjoy your loved ones in your space, right? These things are possible. And I think sometimes if you're thinking just about where you are, it's very difficult to conceptualize where you want to be. And a lot of times you may just count yourself out from that future. And sometimes brain fog does that, right? It doesn't allow us the clarity of thinking ahead. But I'm here to tell you that you can and you will, with time, be able to meal prep in your kitchen. I promise. You'll have the counter space. You'll have the Tupperware. I promise. I promise. And so it's so possible to just sit in your home and just enjoy it and just feel good. Like, and I know this may feel like something that is not possible because you're not experiencing it, and you may not maybe you never experienced it, or you haven't experienced it in a long time or ever. Either way, I'm telling you, you can feel that tranquility, that peace, just in your home, just by sitting. And your home doesn't have to feel suffocating. You don't have to feel claustrophobic. You don't have to feel trapped. That is not a forever. Okay? It is possible to work with your home at the stage you're in to get to those things. Those things that you imagine, the stage you're in, it's possible to work from A to B. Okay? So, that is the end of this live. This gave me as much life as it gave y'all. Hopefully it gave y'all life based on the responses. I hope it did because it definitely gave me life. I'm going to be posting this on my feed, and I'll be running clips on this because this was juicy. But if you have any questions about working with me, please DM me, and I will see you all next week. I will be coming on live again, so I'll put up the date and the time that I'll be coming. But thank you all so much for coming. Just tidy, refresh my bedside before. Yes, tidy that bedside. Clear that nightstand, okay? But thank y'all so much for watching and joining, and I will see y'all next week.